Gym instructor mocks a black janitor. What happened next silenced the whole gym. Before the story begins, a quick favor if you believe in racial fairness and dignity. Tap like, hit subscribe, and stay till the end so you don't miss the twist. Your support helps stories like this reach more people who need to hear them. The gym smelled like lemon cleaner and pride. It was the kind of place where mirrors were bigger than the windows and the music kept trying to prove something. The morning class stretched in neat rows, shoes lined up like soldiers, water bottles with names and silver markers. At the front stood Ryan Klein, the kind of instructor whose smile felt like a spotlight and a test. He wore a headset mic even when the room didn't need it. He flexed the way some people breathe. On the far edge of the room, a black janitor mopped quietly as the bass thumped. He moved with care, guiding the mop's wet ribbon along the floor's edge so no one would slip. His name tag read Malik, the letters starting to fade. He wore a navy shirt that looked like it had soaked up a decade of mornings. There was a soft line between his eyebrows, the kind life pressed into you when you learn to swallow your hurt and turn it into patience. "You might want to move that mop, boss," Ryan called out without looking at him. "We don't want to track cleaner into the real work zone." A few people laughed, the kind of laugh that tests what the room will allow. Malik paused. He looked up, eyes steady. "I'll dry this side." 2 minutes. Ryan clapped once loud. "You heard the man. 2 minutes till the floor is fit for feet, not wheels." Another laugh. Someone mumbled, "Rude." But it dissolved into the music, into the shouting rhythm of reps. Malik finished the edge, parked the yellow bucket by the wall, and wrung out the mop. He wiped his hands on his shirt and checked the wet floor sign, rotating it until the arrow pointed where the shine was. That was how he did almost everything, turning small things the right way so people wouldn't get hurt. "All right, athletes," Ryan boomed. "Today is power cleans to overhead press. If you're not an athlete, broom guy's hiring." Laughter again, bigger this time. It rolled over the floor like a wave. A few faces flinched. A woman in her 50s, short, sturdy, silver bun, shot Ryan a look and then gave Malik a small smile, like a hand offered in a crowd. Her name was Mrs. Ortega. She came every morning, always early, hands taped with careful pride. She'd told Malik once that moving kept her son's voice close. Malik lifted the sign and stepped back, eyes on the plates stacked by the rack. He noticed a cable frayed near the lap machine and made a mental note. He kept a small notebook in his pocket. He'd write it down later, add it to the list he had already logged. Replace rubber feet under bench 2, retighten the bolts on rower 4. Ask Cassie at the front desk if the facility budget could stretch for new clips. Ryan snapped his fingers. Music up. Eyes on me, mops offline. Malik stayed by the wall. He'd learned how to be air, the kind you didn't notice until you ran out of it. "Hey." A voice whispered near his elbow. It was Jonah, a tall, shy teen in a faded tee, a member whose membership card said student. He was new. He was always watching. "I like your form when you squeegee. It's like you measure your steps." Malik smiled. "My mom always said, if you can't be loud, be precise." Jonah nodded like that made sense in places beyond a gym. Ryan dropped into his stance, demonstrated, and the bars rose. Clangs and breath and the small groans of human effort. The room warmed. Sweat dotted the floor. Malik's eyes tracked the room the way lifeguards watch water. People notice in broken moments. That's the unfair truth. They don't see the hundreds of quiet acts you stack like bricks. They look up when something cracks. It cracked when Ryan decided the music and his mouth weren't enough. He pointed straight at Malik. "Hey, mop man, since you're timing us anyway, why don't you show all of us how it's done? Clean to press. 40 kilos. Just once. And I'll stop calling you that. I'll even apologize." Heads turned. Phones lifted. The room loved a dare until a dare turned into a line. Cassie from the front desk murmured, "Ryan, come on." But Ryan was already striding to the rack like a referee. "Come on, man. How hard can it be? It's just cleaning." A few people laughed at the wordplay. Some didn't. Malik looked at the bar, then at the faces. He thought of his rent. He thought of the last performance review, that tiny checkbox, stays in lane. He thought of the night bus home, the hush of tired bodies, the way the city lights blinked like tired eyes on the water. "I'm working, sir," he said quietly, "but I can help you keep people safe." "Safe?" Ryan grinned big. "Brother, it's a gym, not a daycare. We're here to get strong." Malik nodded. Strength and safety are not enemies. That line floated there. Some caught it. Some rolled their eyes. Ryan slapped the bar. Clock's ticking, champ. Malik took one step forward, then stopped. He could feel the heat of the room behind his ears. He was a quiet person, but quiet wasn't fear. Quiet was a choice. He had learned that dignity didn't need to shout. It needed to stand. He shook his head. No, I'm on shift. A soft murmur, disappointment, relief, the mix of a crowd that wants spectacle and also wants to feel better than it for wanting it. All right then, Ryan said, smirking. Let's keep the professionals on the equipment and the staff on the staff work. Mrs. Ortega wiped her palms with a towel she kept immaculate. Some of us came to work, too, she said to no one in particular. Later, when the class broke for water, Cassie edged over to Malik. I'm sorry. He's in a mood. The regional manager is coming Saturday. He's trying to look important. It's all right, Malik said. He's trying to be seen. Some people only know one volume. Cassie winced. You know you could report him. I know, Malik replied. But then I'd be the problem, not the problem. She looked at him longer than a coworker usually looks. You don't talk like a janitor. He smiled small. What does a janitor talk like? I mean, she said, cheeks flushing, you talk like a coach. He didn't answer. He was thinking of a room with chalk lines and a calendar that had once been full of meats. He was thinking of a medal in a shoebox. He was thinking of a name that used to be called over loudspeakers, and how that name could still make his heart do a small, stubborn stutter. A few hours later, after the music went quiet and the room's echo calmed, he found the frayed cable again and flagged the machine with caution tape. He filled out the maintenance request in neat capital letters. He started to sweep, then stopped. The handle was splintered at the end. He took his pocket knife and shaved it smooth. Small things done right. He worked through lunch. He always did. He ate a peanut butter sandwich in the storage room and listened to the washer's thrum. He texted his mother a photo of the stew he planned to make that night. She texted back 3 red hearts and 1 admonition about getting enough sleep. He sent her a photo of a clock with sticky notes covering half the numbers. She replied with, "Go rest, my boy. The world will still be here in the morning." By mid-afternoon, the gym swelled again. After-work bodies. Strangers who shared space with the weight of their days. Ryan's evening class arrived early to warm up. He strutted over to the racks, checked his reflection in the mirror the way people check their stories. All right, team, he shouted. This is the class that separates the meek from the elite. Jonah hovered by the wall, watching Malik tape down the last strip near the treadmill. Do you ever get mad? He asked quietly. Anger is a match, Malik said. You can use it to light a room or burn it down. What did you use yours for? Still deciding, Malik said. He looked up. You want to learn how to brace your core properly for that deadlift you've been avoiding? Jonah blinked, surprised. You noticed? I notice everything I wish somebody had noticed for me. They worked quietly, just outside the class's heat. Hips back, ankles awake, spine long like a string pulled from crown to ceiling. Jonah's shoulders dropped an inch as tension left the useless places and moved into the useful ones. Better, Malik said, and though it was one word, Jonah wore it like 2. In the middle of the second block, the mistake happened, not because anyone wanted it, but because machines are honest about neglect. The lat pull-down cable snapped. A woman named Tess, who came every Tuesday, jerked backward with it, hands still wrapped around the bar because fear holds on. She tumbled off the seat, the bar swinging wild like an accusation. Malik was moving before anyone shouted. He caught the bar with his forearms, absorbed the swing, and twisted it away from her face. I've got it, he said, and the assurance in it was so complete that even panic listened. He checked Tess's shoulder, fingers pressing gently where pain hides. Where does it talk? Here, she breathed, wincing. It's sharp. Okay, he said, voice even, like evenness could slow blood. Breathe with me. In, out. Let the muscle melt around the bone. He rolled a towel to support her neck, asked Cassie for ice, told Jonah to grab the first aid kit. He tested range of motion, asking permission with his eyes before every movement. The room went quiet in the way rooms go quiet when someone is both hurt and tenderly cared for. Ryan jogged over, face flushed. You good, Tess? You good? He looked at Malik. We'll take it from here. Malik didn't move his hands. She needs to sit and breathe. I think it's a minor strain of the supraspinatus. Could be labrum concern if it grabs on external rotation, but right now it seems more like the rotator cuff is just angry. Ice 15 on, 15 off. No overhead lifts for a week. Ryan blinked. What are you, WebMD? Malik ignored him. He looked at Tess. You'll be okay. The body whispers at first. Today it raised its voice. If you listen now, it won't have to scream. Tess exhaled for the first time like she believed him. Thank you. Ryan stared at him, then at the snapped cable. Why wasn't this flagged? It was, Malik said, pointing to the caution tape at the base and the form he'd filed. This morning, I was waiting on approval for the part. Someone muttered, not safe. Someone else, they cut corners. Cassie met Ryan's eyes. We had the request. It's in the system. Ryan's jaw worked like he was chewing pride. All right, he said too brightly. Glad everyone's okay. Back to it. No one moved. A different kind of weight had landed on the room. Ryan looked into it and smiled bigger. The kind of big that hides a crack. The regional manager's visit on Saturday stopped being gossip and turned into a countdown. People whispered by the water fountain. They sent each other clips of the cable's clean snap caught on someone's phone. Someone tagged the gym's account with a do better. The post collected quiet fire. That night, Malik stayed late to replace the caution tape with a more visible barricade. He wrote a longer note in the maintenance system, copying the part numbers, attaching photos, making it impossible for a lazy eye to miss. He was about to leave when Cassie found him in the storage room staring at a plastic tub labeled Lost and Found. You okay? She asked. He tapped the tub. People leave things behind they think they won't need again. Headphones, water bottles, sometimes names. What name did you leave? He closed the tub gently. Once upon a time, I was Coach Thomas. A long time ago, before things. She waited. He didn't go on. He didn't know the room, his history, to prove his humanity. Saturday came. The morning cracked open with a sky that looked scrubbed. Members arrived early. Someone had made a welcome sign that sagged in the middle the way enthusiasm can when it meets tape. Ryan wore a new shirt. He switched the playlist 3 times. He paced like a boxer without a fight. At 10, the glass doors parted and a woman with a short gray bob and black blazer walked in like she knew how to carry authority without breaking it. Eileen Hart, regional manager. 2 assistants trailed behind, eyes on tablets. Welcome, Ms. Hart. Ryan's voice lifted and bent into charm. We've prepared a special session to showcase our elite coaching and community commitment. Wonderful, Eileen said, glancing around. Who's in charge of safety checks on equipment? Me, Ryan said quickly. And facilities, of course. As if summoned by his name, Malik stepped out of the hallway with a toolkit and the kind of posture that says you're trying not to be in anyone's way. He nodded. Morning. Eileen's eyes flicked to the barricaded machine. What happened there? Freak accident, Ryan said. We've got it under control. It wasn't a freak accident, Cassie said, voice steady. The cable was flagged Wednesday. Maintenance request filed. Malik put up the tape. We're still waiting on budget to approve the replacement. Eileen turned to Malik. You knew the part number? Yes, ma'am. You filed documentation? He handed her the printed copy from the storage room. He had learned to bring paper to digital fights. Eileen read it. Then she looked at Ryan. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. We'll speak after. For now, we adjust the plan. Ryan's smile thinned. Of course. Classes began. The music tried to swallow nerves. People lifted, lowered, grunted, and felt. Eileen watched with a focus that made folks clean up their form even without a cue. Partway through, she stepped out to take a call. When she came back, she walked straight to Malik. Mr. Thomas, she said, could I see you in my office for a moment? The room tilted. Ryan's head snapped toward them. Cassie's eyes widened. Mrs. Ortega looked so proud it hurt. Of course, Malik said, setting down his wrench. The office upstairs smelled like new carpet and coffee. Eileen closed the door quietly. You've worked here how long? 14 months, he said. Second shift for 9, first for 5. And before this? He studied the coffee machine for a heartbeat. Before this, I coached high school track. Before that, I was a physical therapy aide. Before that, I worked on a research grant in my last year of college, studying force vectors and sprint starts. That was before my mother's stroke. And before that, Malik smiled at the edges. Before that, ma'am, I was just a kid who ran because running made sense in a world that didn't. Eileen opened a file on her tablet. Did you ever apply for any roles with us outside of janitorial? I did. How many times? 12. She scrolled. The system says your applications were closed due to insufficient experience. It also says no one called your references. Sometimes, Malik said gently, apps tell their own story. Eileen leaned back. What's your certification status? USATF Level 1, he said. CPR and AED. I never took my CSCS. I almost did. Then life decided different. Why didn't you tell anyone you had this background? He met her eyes. I told the truth that fits on a name tag. The rest felt like a dare. She watched him quiet. Wednesday, you prevented a worse injury. You flagged the risk in writing. You understand biomechanics better than some of my trainers. The question is why you're sweeping floors in a place that could use your mind. He looked down at his hands. Because sometimes life knocks you out of your lane and you spend a while just trying not to get run over. Because there was a kid at a clinic once they wouldn't see without insurance, and I said no, and the director said I wasn't loyal, and then references went silent and rent kept asking for answers. Because dignity is sometimes the only thing you get to keep, so you hold it like a lantern and hope it helps someone else see. Eileen didn't speak for a long moment. I'm not in the business of charity, Mr. Thomas. I'm in the business of running safe, effective, profitable gyms. But I am also in the business of people. This morning, I need to show corporate two things: that we take safety seriously and that we serve our community. Would you be willing to lead a 15-minute foundations demonstration in the main room? Teach our members how to brace, hinge, breathe. Simple, inclusive, safe. Malik blinked. You want me to teach? I want you to do what you already do quietly on the edges, she said. Do it in the center. He felt his heart tap twice on his ribs. Yes, ma'am. I'll introduce you, she said. And Mr. Klein will assist. His stomach tightened. Ryan, she said. This will be good for everyone. Back downstairs, the room buzzed. News travels in bodies long before it travels in words. Ryan's smile was back where he liked it, big and in charge. When Eileen announced the Foundation's demo, the smile cracked. We're thrilled to have a special segment, she said. This is Malik Thomas. He's the reason Mrs. Ortega didn't slip last winter, the reason that cable didn't hit Tessa's face on Wednesday, and the reason your children don't run where they shouldn't. Today he'll teach us how to move without lying to ourselves about our limits. Ryan's mic squealed, a small betrayal. Fantastic, he said tightly. I'll be here to assist if anything gets too technical. Malik stepped forward. He felt every eye on him. He felt the weight of a name he hadn't used in so long that saying it would feel like calling out to a house where the lights were off. Hi, he said. I'm Malik. My mom says strength without kindness is just loud. So we're going to be strong and kind to our bodies today. We'll start with breathing. Put a hand on your belly, another on your ribs. Breathe into your belly like you're inflating a stubborn balloon. Now your ribs, open them sideways. Now exhale like you're fogging up a window with a secret you're not ready to say out loud. A laugh flowed through the room. Soft, human. Shoulders dropped. Good, he said. Now feet. They've been carrying you your whole life. Give them a steady floor. Spread your toes inside your shoes. Feel the tripod. Big toe, little toe, heel. Hips back like you're about to close a car door with your butt because your hands are full of groceries. Spine long, like there's a string from your head to the ceiling. Not stiff. Tall. He watched 100 bodies find themselves. He moved through them, gentle taps and clear words. He didn't perform. He taught. He taught the way rivers teach rocks patience. Ryan couldn't help himself. He rolled his eyes. Or we could just lift the thing. You could, Malik said. But we're here to get better, not just tired. Somewhere near the back, Jonah tried the hinge and winced when his hamstrings finally confessed they were tight. Malik went to him. Feels new. Jonah nodded. Feels honest. Good, Malik said quietly. Honesty is where progress lives. He brought the room into a simple loaded carry with kettlebells that didn't show off, but did work. He had them walk slow, eyes on a spot in the distance, ribs quiet, hands alive. He had them set the bells down like they were placing a promise. Ryan interrupted. Fun, but the people came for a show. Tell you what, Malik. 1 clean-in press, 1 pistol squat, 20-kilo bells. You do it, I'll give the floor to you every Saturday. You don't, we stop wasting time. Eileen opened her mouth, but Malik raised a hand lightly. He turned to the room. You don't have to prove anything to anyone except the you from last week. But sometimes bullies understand only stories with numbers in them. So okay, he picked up the kettlebells. He didn't jerk them. He didn't pop his chest. He breathed low and clean, then let the bells float. His wrists snapped under them like they belonged there. He pressed them overhead in a way that the room felt in its ribs. He set them down gently. He didn't bow. Then he did something quieter. He called Jonah forward. "You up for a story?" he asked. Jonah swallowed. "I'll try." "You don't need to try," Malik said. "You need to prepare." They didn't do pistol squats. They did a box squat to a stack of mats. They scaled the weight, and they slowed down. They built a movement that didn't shame his knees into pretending. The room watched a kid do a thing he thought wasn't for him, and it clapped in that dangerous way applause can sometimes call to power and sometimes call to witness. Ryan's smile slipped off his face. "Cute," he said. But that wasn't the challenge. Malik looked at him. His eyes didn't harden, they steadied. "You challenged me to perform. I chose to teach because teaching makes more people strong. If your job is to make yourself look good, keep performing. If your job is to make people better, take notes." The room went quiet. Then someone laughed softly, like the sound of a window opening. Mrs. Ortega clapped once, loudly, as if she were calling a name she loved across a crowded street. Others followed. It wasn't a standing ovation. It was better. It was a community saying yes out loud. Eileen stepped forward. "Starting next week, we'll be launching a foundations class twice weekly. Malik will lead. Ryan will continue to instruct his advanced class with a renewed focus on safety standards set by our team." Ryan coughed. "Excuse me." "You heard me," Eileen said, still calm. "Meet me after this. We need to discuss Wednesday. And your social media language." Ryan's jaw did that chewing thing again. "This is ridiculous." "What's ridiculous?" Mrs. Ortega said, voice clear and warm. "Is a man who thinks volume equals value." Eileen's assistants stopped typing long enough to look up at the miracle of a room teaching itself how to be better. After, people milled around Malik like he was a tree they wanted to rest near. Tess, arm in a sling now, more for comfort than need, touched his elbow. "You helped me breathe when my body tried to take that away," she said. "I won't forget it." Cassie grinned. "Coach," she whispered, like a secret finally allowed daylight. Malik felt something in his chest loosen, like a knot that had been holding his breath for years. He didn't cry. He simply inhaled a kind of air you only get after storms. He found a quiet corner and texted his mom. "Had a good morning. Love you." He attached a photo of the kettlebells stacked like honest work. She replied with, "I knew it. God keeps receipts." "Then eat." Ryan stalked past with a face like a slammed door. He flung his towel into the bin with a drama that towels didn't deserve. He disappeared into Eileen's office. The door closed with a soft click that promised a conversation that would not be fun. Malik went to put away the cones he'd used for spacing drills. He liked putting things back where they belonged, even if life took years to do it for people. "Mr. Thomas?" A young woman with a notebook approached. She wore a jacket with the gym's logo. "I write the community newsletter. Could I do a small feature on the new class?" "Sure," he said. "But make it about the class, not me." She smiled. "That's what people like, though." "Then write about your neighbor who keeps showing up even when her knees ache," he said, nodding toward Mrs. Ortega. "And about the kid whose back stops hurting because he learned to hinge. Make it about the room. If we tell the right stories, they make more stories." Down the hall, Eileen's office door opened. Ryan emerged first, color drained. His mouth was a straight line, used to smiling. He didn't look at anyone as he left, faster than he needed to, like something was chasing him that didn't have legs. Eileen followed, expression unreadable. She walked right to Malik. "Do you have a moment in the conference room?" she asked. He nodded. They stepped into the small glass-walled space. She closed the door, but not the blinds. He appreciated that. "Two things," she said. "First, corporate saw footage from Wednesday. They're sending an auditor and a trainer to review our safety protocols. They want you to be part of the meeting. Second, I received an email 5 minutes ago from our legal team. It concerns a prior incident at a different clinic that mentions your name. It suggests you were terminated for insubordination." He held her gaze. "I wasn't terminated. I resigned when they refused to treat a kid without insurance. I wrote a letter. They never responded, but they blacklisted me anyway." "I believe you," she said. "But corporate will need documentation. Do you have any of your records?" "I have my letter," he said. "I kept a copy." We'll need it, she said. And the auditor they're sending, you should know, is not a stranger. Her name is Dr. Layla Adebayo. She used to teach at your college. She's respected. She's also Ryan's aunt by marriage. A ripple of old fear crossed his stomach, that ancient ache of realizing you might be walking into a room where the rules were written far away from fairness. Eileen watched his face. I'm not bringing you in to be eaten. I'm bringing you in because you know what you're doing, and I think people deserve to see that. Thank you, he said. Also, she added, there's one more person here to see you. She asked to speak to you privately. I don't like surprises, but this one, I think you'll want it. The conference room door opened before he could ask who. A woman stepped in, mid-40s, dark skin, braided hair pulled back, a posture that said she knew the price of truth and paid it anyway. Her eyes widened when she saw him. Malik Thomas, she said softly. It's been a long time. He stood slowly. Do I know? My name is Dr. Layla Adebayo, she said. I was one of the instructors on the research grant you worked on. We've been looking for you. He blinked. Time did a strange elastic thing. I'm here on 2 missions, she said, voice low, sure. The first is an audit. The second is an apology. Not mine, an institution's. We found emails. We found the kid you tried to help. We found the director who buried your letter. We're reopening that case. And if you're willing, we need you to testify today. The gym's hum faded. The small noises, footsteps, a water fountain's burble, someone's relieved laugh down the hall, fell away. Something in the air shifted, like a room that had been holding its breath, finally remembering how. Malik felt the old not give another inch. He also felt the weight of a path he had walked by himself for a long time, and the sudden, dizzy strangeness of maybe not needing to anymore. What does this mean, he asked. Dr. Adebayo glanced at Eileen, then back at him. It means the story you refused to bury might finally be heard in the room where it was silenced. It also means you're about to have powerful people very interested in what you know. Some of them will clap. Some of them will try to make you small. So before we move, I need to ask you the same question you once asked a room full of kids about to run a 400. Are you ready to be honest and brave at the same time? Malik swallowed. I don't know how to be anything else anymore. Good, she said, smiling with her whole face. Then we begin. He reached for his phone to text his mother when the conference room glass shivered with a sudden bang. Someone had slapped the outside pane with an open palm. Ryan stood there, eyes wild, a printed sheet in his hand. He held it up to the glass like a warning. On it was a screenshot of an old forum post. A post with Malik's name. A post that made a neat, ugly story out of what had happened years ago. A lie told with the clean confidence of a person who didn't expect to be contradicted. Ryan's lips formed 3 words through the glass. You are done. The room went still. Dr. Adebayo's eyes narrowed. Eileen's mouth set with resolve. Malik looked at the lie. He looked at the 2 women standing with him. He looked at the room beyond the glass. The treadmills, the cork board with flyers for a 5K, Mrs. Ortega teaching herself a new stretch, Jonah rewinding a cue in his head with new pride. He turned back to the glass and smiled at Ryan. Not a grin. Not a smirk. A calm, steady smile. The kind you wear when you remember what you didn't forget, when you stop letting other people write your name. Let's go, he said quietly. It's time. Dr. Adebayo picked up her folder. Eileen reached for the door handle. The door swung open before she touched it. A man in a suit stepped in, flanked by 2 others with badges. The suit's voice was cool. Mr. Thomas? I'm from corporate compliance. We've received a complaint this morning alleging falsified credentials and malicious interference with a staff member's class. We need to speak with you immediately, preferably alone. Silence fell so hard the floor felt it. Dr. Adebayo lifted her badge. He won't be speaking to you alone. The man smiled thinly. With respect, Doctor, this is internal. With respect, she returned, so is my audit. He held her gaze for a beat too long, then turned back to Malik. Sir. Malik's heart beat once, twice, like a hand knocking from the inside. He thought of matches and rooms and what they can light. He thought of the cable that snapped and the towel that became a pillow. He thought of a kid at a clinic and a letter filed away in a drawer and the sound a truth makes when you finally open the door. He nodded. I'll come, but I don't walk alone anymore. The man gestured toward the hallway. People outside began to notice. Heads turned the way they do when a train changes tracks. Cassie appeared at the corner of the glass, eyes wide but steady. Mrs. Ortega stood up straighter, like a soldier remembering drill. Jonah put his hand on the glass, a small promise from a kid who learned how to hinge and now wanted to know how to stand. Malik stepped forward. He felt the world shift a little, the way it does when you move weight you weren't sure you could move. Then his phone buzzed. A number he didn't know. A message. 3 words. Call me now. Under the 3 words, a name appeared. One he hadn't seen since the day all of this started. The name of the clinic director who had tried to erase him. The gym exhaled and held its breath again. The hallway was quietly loud, the kind of silence where you can hear nerves breathing. The compliance man waited with a patient face that wasn't patient at all. Eileen stood a step closer than most executives ever do, like a guard who keeps the door open with her shoulder on purpose. Dr. Adebayo held her folder like a judge holds a pen. Malik's phone kept pulsing in his hand. Call me now. He looked at the name on the screen, a name he hadn't seen since the day everything cracked. He lifted his eyes to the 2 women. If I pick up, it's on speaker. Good, Dr. Adebayo said. The compliance man's smile thinned. This really isn't proct. It is now, Eileen said, and her voice closed the rest of his sentence for him. Malik hit call and held the phone out. It rang twice. A man's voice came through, smooth, almost friendly, the kind of friendly that grows thorns when you touch it. Malik, finally, I wanted to give you a heads up because I've always liked you. Corporate might reach out about an old forum post. It paints a certain picture. You'll want to keep your head down and not make waves today. We can fix the rest quietly later. What picture? Malik asked, calm laid over the tremor in his fingers. That you were volatile, the man said. Hot-headed. That your resignation was to avoid termination after an incident. It's not ideal, but if you don't fight it, it passes. Eileen's mouth went still. The compliance man blinked like dust hit his eye. Dr. Adebayo didn't move. Who wrote the post? Malik asked. Anonymous, the man said brightly. But you and I both know how the world works. A little bit of smoke, people see fire. The best thing is to step aside from this gym situation, let the current die down. I've already talked to someone there. This can all be. Who did you talk to? Malik said very gently. A heartbeat. Then the voice flinched. A Klein. A coach, I think. He reached out, said you were trying to steal his class. He asked for context on your temperament. In the glass, a shadow moved. Down the hall, Ryan hesitated, then did something new. He looked unsure. Malik kept his voice level. Do you remember a boy at the clinic? 12 years old. Short of breath. No insurance. Your intake nurse told his mother they needed a card before testing. I asked you to see him anyway. You said no. I wrote a letter. I used my name. You didn't. Does your memory work better when I talk about names? A different sound came from the phone now, a paper being shoved under a desk. You're upset. I'm sorry for that. You need to think about the future. If you put your pride down, The call ended. The screen went black like a small curtain fell. No one spoke first. It was a shared breath, then a shared decision. We'll be needing that letter, the compliance man said. Tone changed, ego shoved behind procedure like a child hiding a mess behind a curtain. You'll have it before lunch, Malik said. Before we move further, Eileen added, we're going to do this in the open. You came for fairness. You'll get sunlight. They stepped out of the glass room into a gym that had been pretending not to listen. Heads turned. People slowed treadmills without admitting it. Mrs. Ortega straightened. Tess slipped her sling off her shoulder and stood like she wanted to be counted. Jonah's eyes found Malik's face like ships find a lighthouse. Eileen raised her voice just enough. Some of you saw Wednesday. Some of you saw this morning. We're taking both seriously. Corporate compliance is here. So is an independent auditor. Before they do their part, I want to do mine. She turned to Malik. You have the floor. Malik didn't climb a box. He didn't hold a mic. He just stood where 100 hours of quiet work had shaped the floor under his feet. I don't want to fight, he said. I want the truth. Wednesday, a cable snapped. I had flagged it in writing. Today, there's a claim I falsified credentials and interfered with someone's class. My credentials are what they are, humble but real. My interference Wednesday was to keep a woman's face safe. My interference this morning was to give people what they came here to build, real strength with real care. He could feel the room lean closer. If I'm angry, he said, it's not at one person. It's at a system that teaches some people that volume equals value and teaches others that silence is their only defense. I've lived both sides. I'm done performing smallness to make other people comfortable. Ryan laughed, a short sound that tried to be bigger than it was. Oh, come on. Don't turn a gym class into a courtroom. It became a courtroom, Mrs. Ortega said, when you made humiliation a sport. Ryan opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. So this is a witch hunt now? Because I dared a Jan. Because you forgot his name, Cassie said. And because the day you laughed at his caution tape, a cable snapped. Ryan flushed. I didn't laugh at safety. You laughed at care, Tess said quietly, which is how safety begins. Eileen lifted her hand. Enough. Here is our plan. We are reviewing safety logs, maintenance requests, and video from Wednesday. Compliance will interview staff. The auditor will oversee the process. And because the community built this gym, some voices will be heard now. She turned to the room. If you have something to say that helps us become better and fairer, say it. Silence this time felt like potential, not fear. Jonah stepped forward. He looked like a kid who'd talked too much once and paid for it. His hands were steady. I know we're talking about weights, he said, voice too honest to be rehearsed. But this is about breath. When I was 12, I stopped breathing right. My mom and I went to a clinic. They said we needed insurance before tests. A young aide argued. Loudly. Security came. They made him leave. He wrote something down and left it on the desk anyway. A nurse read it. She called a different hospital. They saw me the same day. He paused. The room's heart moved closer to his. I got better. But then my grades slipped. My chest got tight when I ran. My friends started lifting. So I came here. The first day, I stayed against the wall. The janitor noticed my feet. He told me to spread my toes. That helped me breathe, too. He looked straight at Malik. I know his voice. I know that day at the clinic because it's in my lungs. He's the aide. He's the one who argued. If he hadn't made noise in that quiet room, I don't know. He bit down on the rest and shook his head like bees were flying too close to his eyes. People don't clap for trauma. They hold it. The room did that now. Malik blinked like someone turned a light on in a place he had learned to walk in the dark. I didn't know, he said. You weren't supposed to, Jonah replied. That's how the world keeps people quiet. It breaks the bridge between cause and effect, so you think your courage died in an empty room. The compliance man cleared his throat. We'll need statements. And that letter you mentioned. I have it, Malik said. Printed. Of course you do, Cassie said, half laughing, half crying. Eileen faced Ryan. You will be on administrative leave starting now. No classes. No coaching. You may remain to be interviewed. Ryan sputtered. This is because of a story? Because some kid says. You taught people to ignore pain, Mrs. Ortega said. You called that strength. We're changing that. He turned to go, then spun back like a door with a loose hinge. This is an ambush, he said to Malik, loud enough to be a last performance. You want my job? Malik shook his head. I want your people to be safe. I want them to know strength without humiliation. Same thing, Ryan snapped. If you take this room with pity and breathing and mop talk, you win. Congratulations. His mouth went hard. Just know I can play this game, too. Don't, Dr. Adebayo said quietly. He scoffed and walked away. The floor under him sounded tired. The rest of the day moved like weather in a city. Attention poured, then thinned, then poured again. Compliance took statements. The auditor reviewed the maintenance system and found flags that had been closed without action. A pattern grew out of the paperwork like a photograph out of the darkroom. It wasn't just about one cable. It was about speed over care, image over truth. Near evening, while most people trickled out, Eileen asked Malik to meet in the office. The sun threw long rectangles across the carpet like bookmarks. Dr. Adebayo already sat inside, her folder thicker now. We have what we need for the gym piece, she said. But there's the other matter. I reached a former nurse from the clinic. She remembers the boy and your letter. She saved a copy of it on her home computer out of guilt. She sent it a few minutes ago. Eileen slid a printout across the desk. Malik's own words stared back, young handwriting and older honesty. He had forgotten the exact sentences, but not the shape of them. Please treat him now, bill later. The child can't breathe. We can't make money again on oxygen. He wasn't seen that day, Malik said softly. His voice didn't break. It bent. They called security. I left and watched that door like it might grow mercy. They sent him to a different hospital. Jonah's voice came from the doorway. He stood there with his mother. eyes ringed with years that knew both love and debt. But only because the nurse you argued with called in a favor. She told me, years later, after I found her. She said she was brave because you were first. Malik sat slowly. The chair cradled a weight that felt both heavy and clean. The clinic director has been contacted by my team, Dr. Adebayo said. He's been placed on leave while the institution investigates. The forum post will be traced. We expect to find it led back to his office. If it led anywhere else, we will follow the wire. What happens to Ryan? Malik asked. It wasn't revenge in his voice. It was a coach's question about the next play for a man who'd just fumbled on purpose. He'll get a process, Eileen said. The kind he tried to deny other people. A fair one. And to you, Dr. Adebayo added, we're offering two things. One from the gym, one from the institution. From the gym, a new role. Safety lead and foundations coach, full-time. We'll pay for your CSCS certification. We'll pay for 2 other certifications of your choice. And we're naming a scholarship membership for low-income youth after someone you choose. You can pick the name. Mrs. Ortega, Malik said before she finished speaking. He startled himself. He smiled. If she's okay with that. Mrs. Ortega, who had walked in behind Jonah's mother and was pretending she hadn't, put a hand over her heart. My son would have loved that, she said. He used to bring his friends here and make them stretch before basketball. They'd grown. He'd say, we can't meet tomorrow with bodies we ignored today. He would have loved you. And from the institution, Dr. Adebayo continued, we are offering a formal apology to be read publicly for burying your letter and punishing you for telling the truth. We will offer you a consultancy on ethics training for intake staff. Paid, if you want it. Malik breathed. The breath did what good air does. It made space where there had been none. I'll do it, he said. I'll do both. But I want something else we can't print on a check. What? Eileen asked. Policy, Malik said. I want a line in this gym's handbook that says humiliation is not a coaching tool. I want staff training that makes safety a habit, not a performance. I want a wall where we post maintenance requests and let members see what we're fixing. And I want, once a month, a community class where nobody pays, where people who never see themselves in rooms like this get to walk in without being watched like a theft and progress. Eileen wrote as he spoke. Done, she said. And at the clinic? Dr. Adebayo asked. Malik looked at Jonah's mother. I want a fund for emergency care. No insurance, no problem. Small but real. Named after the boy whose breath you almost bought with money. He turned to Jonah. If it's okay, named after you. Jonah's mother nodded, tears catching on the part of her that used to be fireproof. He's why we kept going, she whispered. They met in the main room to make it official because secrets grow in corners and truth needs open windows. Members gathered. Staff stood without hiding behind clipboards. Eileen spoke, then Dr. Adebayo, then the compliance man, who had learned the taste of humility over an afternoon and didn't hate it. Then Malik spoke one last time as a janitor who was a coach and a coach who had been a janitor. Strength and safety are not enemies, he said, and the room said it with him like a pledge. We build both, or we break. He turned to the wall where they'd cleared a space and taped up the first maintenance log in big letters like a community promise. They rolled out new mats. The foundations class began with feet, ribs, breath. He taught like he was building a small bridge from each person's fear to their next step. The room moved. People smiled the way you smile when your body remembers itself. Mid-class, an email arrived on Eileen's phone. She read it, then handed it to Malik. It was short. It was signed. It said what it should have said years ago. We apologize. We were wrong. We buried your letter, and we let a boy's breathing become a budget issue. We are changing our policy, and we ask, for the sake of the people we failed, for your voice in that change. He read it, then put the phone down like you said a heavy thing on a table that was built for it. After class, as people lingered in the good tired that comes after honest work, Ryan came back. He looked different. Not soft, not sorry, just smaller. The kind of smallness that happens when the world stops letting you be the only sound in the room. I'm here for my interview, he said to compliance, but he was looking at Malik. Before I go in, I was wrong. I don't know how to be anything else yet, but I was wrong. Malik nodded. Learn. People will help you if you choose that. Ryan swallowed. I don't deserve. Deserve is a slippery word, Malik said. Try responsible. It will teach you more. The interview closed behind a door. The day narrowed into evening, the foundation of a new way of being sat under their feet, and this time, everyone felt it. Malik cleaned up the cones and stacked the kettlebells and wiped down the bars. People always think titles change what your hands should do, but some work, when done with love, stays yours. Before he left, he made sure the wet floor sign pointed the right way. Then he texted his mother, "We did it." She replied, "I knew it. Save me a front row for your first real class." He laughed. He didn't usually. It sounded like sunlight on a clean floor. Outside, the sky was the color of a new promise. Jonah jogged up beside him. "Coach," he said, testing the word like a shoe in a store he could finally afford. "When's the community class start?" "Next Saturday," Malik said. "Bring friends. Bring skeptics." Jonah grinned. "I'll bring the breath I owe you. Bring the future that owes nobody," Malik said. "We're done paying debt with dignity." They were about to part when Malik's phone buzzed again. A new number. A new message. "Your letter saved more than one kid. Call me when you can. I think we have work to do in other gyms." He showed it to Dr. Adebayo as she came out behind them. She scanned it, smiled with her whole face, and lifted a hand like a coach at the start line. "Then we keep moving," she said. "Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast." They didn't sprint. They started steady. They walked into a night that no longer felt like a hallway without doors. And inside, in a room where mirrors had spent years judging without learning, the first poster went up on the wall. Strength with kindness. Safety without shame. Everyone belongs. Before you go, don't forget, if stories like this matter to you, tap like, drop a comment about the moment that hit you hardest, and subscribe so these voices keep reaching people who need them. Your support helps build rooms where dignity isn't a dare, it's the rule.